James, thanks for joining us on episode 008 of the Recorded for Chaos. Just kidding. Coded for Chaos podcast. I did that on purpose. We're here live from my basement. Super excited to talk to you about what you're building with Station DC. We've been kind of like thinking about this whole thing for a while. This is currently the global headquarters for Strategic Cyber Ventures. We used to have an office at 17th in Pennsylvania, which was like super awesome. Then the pandemic hit, and then none of our employees wanted to go into the office and the whole thing, right now we're kind of living through that. We're still going to places occasionally, WeWorks and things like that. But I'm always jealous when I go to other cities and they have a Soho house or they have a much better like startup ecosystem kind of hangout. And that's what I'm most looking forward to about Station DC. What's your title at Station DC?
Executive director. First of all, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
The studio is as beautiful as it looks.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, I mean, that's the plan, like center of gravity for tech and innovation in the city. And my title is executive director, but that reads in many different ways. Chief intern, director of memes,
right,
social media strategist.
Yeah.
Head of partnerships,
What is it? So when you guys steal the Pastis sign and use it, does Pastis know about this?
Not to our knowledge, but we always return it.
Do they still not know about this?
I'm actually not sure. So they keep it right outside our entrance, and it's sitting there, and we're like, if it's not being used here, I just want to get some value out of it.
Okay, all right. It seems like it's common knowledge. They're not on social media.
Yeah.
Like your hat, just noticed that. That's that's from the old. Maybe you tell a story about that logo.
Yeah. So it's it is the DC militia flag, which is the original National Guard for DC, which was enacted, I think, by Thomas Jefferson in like 1800 or 1802. And I guess as the story goes, there were the two commanding generals of like the closest militias were in Jefferson's rival political party. There was a lot of political strife, and DC didn't have its own like militia. So it was actually enacted by Congress to be like DC's National Guard. And I think it reported up to the president. And so it was like a call to arms, and it was like accountants, doctors, lawyers, like everyday people that, had to report and basically join the National Guard. So it's kind of cool. I mean, right now there's a lot that's happening, but it was a cool flag that I saw in the Wilson building, 9 months ago, and I figured we should slap it on.
How you resurrected it. And you're a DC native, like you're originally from the District of Columbia.
From the District of Columbia. Born in City Hospital, yes. Raised in Northwest DC. I'm fully from here.
Nice. So what got you into the this role? Like what made you, what attracted you to being a part of like building Station DC?
So being from here is a big part of it, and like wanting our city to flourish and fully reach its full potential. And previously I was at Revolution on the Rise of the Rest seed fund investment team, investing in early stage companies outside San Francisco, New York City, and Boston. And there were like three tailwinds and or opportunities, depending on how you frame it, that really created Station DC. The first is founders need access to Washington, D.C. Like, this is where the national priorities are set. This is where the rules are written. This is where budgets are determined. DC is where it happens. And as I was meeting with founders all across the country, they were thinking about Washington, D.C. as really like a channel, like a distribution channel, to unlock like trillions of dollars of potential enterprise value. But DC itself is complicated, expensive, hard to break into.
Yeah.
And a founder that raises a $1 to $2 million seed round probably isn't going to spend $250,000 to $500,000 like building out that DC strategy and team and office. So that's kind of like opportunity one. Opportunity two is DC itself. We have all of the ingredients of what I believe can be a flourishing innovation economy. We have talent, we have capital, we have customers, we have industry, we have really high quality universities. We do have startup successes, but there's no real connective tissue.
Yeah.
Like, there's no organization that's purpose built to bring together all of those key stakeholders very strategically, in ways that's consistent, but also in ways that feels organic And I was just talking with founders and VCs like around DC, and it just kind of kept coming up over and over in conversation. Like, well, we had nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Like, everyone, there was demand, but there just wasn't a thing. So that was the second kind of tailwind or opportunity. And then third is living in an era of great power competition, and our global adversaries becoming more adversarial and more aggressive, and like the federal government, and really the government at all levels, like acknowledging that and recognizing that the way that we remain the world's superpower is through being the most innovative country in the world, having the largest economy in the world, having the largest and strongest military in the world, and not being afraid to use it. And I think all of that is related to being the most technologically advanced country in the world.
Yeah.
And how do we make sure that happens? We make sure that the policymakers and the technologists are in the room together consistently, so that we can create more unity and alignment to solve these problems of national purpose. So all of that was happening in the background, or like we identified those trends, and I kind of just started complaining online about it. Like I was just shit posting on Twitter. I was like, I think we need to do something about this. I don't know what that thing is. I think maybe we like resurrect kind of like a little bit of what we had with 1776.
Yeah.
And I started meeting with folks and pulling on the thread, and like 6 months later, Station DC was.
I feel like 1776 was like almost there, and then something was kind of missing from 1776 when it was happening. I don't know, because I wasn't a frequenter of 1776, but I did go there, I don't know, once a quarter or something.
Yeah, there was always a reason that would get you in the door.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the pandemic didn't help. It was like, co-working space heavy.
Right.
And then WeWork, and then other co-working.
It was definitely kind of peak DC in the between 2000 and 2020. 1776 was kind of right around that time where it's like, man, this thing is going to be a rocket ship.
Yeah.
DC is going to take off. The innovation ecosystem's taken off. To your point, the pandemic hit. But
there was a lot of enterprise value that was created like through or during the like 2010s era.
Yeah.
In Washington, D.C., and 1776 was a part of that.
Yeah, for sure. So you started off, like, so you were actually, back in the day, you guys drove a toothpaste company? What's that all about?
Yeah.
You can't say that. So we're a founder. You were a founder.
So it was really a school project that went wrong. But my senior year of high school, they started this like entrepreneurship track.
Yeah.
And our professor, whose name was Mark Starin, who actually is a member of Station DC, so it's cool, like full circle moment, was an entrepreneur. And he basically like walked in on the first day. It was like, all right, so you guys have like 9 months to start a company. Like that was the entire class. So you had $1,000 budget. And so that was in 2013, 2014. And it was like maybe a year or two after Dollar Shave Club had been acquired for $1 billion.
Yeah.
And at the time we were like, well, like that was a lot of money. Like what else do people buy on a similar cadence of razors?
Right.
Like, I don't know, maybe toothpaste. And maybe we should do the Dollar Shave Club model with toothpaste. But it wasn't just toothpaste. It was like these solidified toothpaste tablets.
Yeah.
So we had that idea. We had $1,000 budget. I would literally
said, what is a solidified?
like there's a company called Bite Toothpaste, like BITE. If you look it up, it's almost the exact same thing as what we wanted to become.
Okay.
But like it looks like like a piece of Dentine ice gum.
And then you put water on it and
you put it in your mouth. Like I wish you. We couldn't figure out how to make that work. However, they gave us $1,000 budget. I would walk down to the Starbucks like 3 blocks away from my house, and I just started talking to people. I was like, hey, I actually bought like a pack of Dentine ice gum, painted it, put our logo on it, and took like one of my friends. She actually gave it to me, like, and her old like birth control pills.
Yeah.
And I put that in the Dentine ice thing. And so I was like, this is the prototype.
Yeah.
And I would ask people, I was like, would you use something like this? Like, how often are you buying toothpaste? Would this make your life easier or not? Ended up gathering data from that, getting really good at Facebook ads. And you put $500 into a website, $500 into Facebook ads. And we generated like $35,000 in free sales.
Right.
And then we won a $10,000 pitch competition. And then we couldn't actually create the toothpaste product. And as I was telling you earlier, I went to Tulane.
Yeah.
So we graduated. We all went to separate schools, and I was busy like having fun in New Orleans.
Yeah, and you didn't want to make Chinese toothpaste, right? Like, 'cause you're probably gonna have to.
Yeah.
You have to make. Nobody wants Chinese toothpaste. Oh, that's probably where toothpaste. Yeah, who knows?
It's really funny.
Okay, so you talked about the ingredients before of what DC has, and I totally agree with that. I think it's underappreciated for its walkability. I know a lot of people, they visit DC when they're in high school or whatever, or in elementary school.
Yeah.
It's underappreciated for its walkability, its connectivity, its metro system, all that stuff. You look at younger people when they're looking for housing nowadays, like walkability scores are really important, and all these other ingredients you mentioned. A couple of things that I feel like maybe you didn't say the first time, but you said it the second time. Access to capital has always been something that's kind of like lacking around here. Now I know a lot of VCs have set up shop here. We're a native DC VC in that we were founded in DC. We operate out of DC. We're a DC VC. There are other VCs in the region, but for founders in this area, I feel like a lot of times they come out of maybe a technical environment. They worked at the National Security Agency, or they worked in the Department of Defense somewhere, or they're in the Army or whatever, or even in the civil side of government. They come out, it's a lot easier to just hang up a shingle and be a services company to be like build a product. And that's partly because they don't even though they might be technical enough to do that, they don't know somebody that could throw them $1 million funding to get something like this started. How has the reception been so far for like venture capital around Station DC? Is for me, as a VC, like thinking that that's a missing ingredient in the DMV, what's the reception been so far?
Yeah. So answering that with data, we have, I don't know the exact number, 521 members as of this morning. 20% of those are VCs.
Nice.
65% of those are actually like DC VCs, and 35% are outside of DC, and they're looking for access to people and information that we can help kind of provide. Answering that with anecdote, I agree. I think that's right. And one of the things that we identified is DC is a great place to scale a business. But like to go from 0 to 1, I think there's more that can be done here. And one of the issues is access to capital. And so there's 3 pillars that we have at Station DC. There's like meeting ground or convening space, events, and education. In the education pillar, our partners at Capital Factory over the past 15 years have been developing these like programs and educational programs, and one of which is called Angel Academy, which is like, how can we upskill doctors, lawyers, folks in real estate to become active angel investors? And so we're going to start delivering that here at Station DC, because there's a lot of those dollars, actually. And there's a lot of those people who want to get involved in, angel investing in the innovation economy, and that could unlock,
that's a good idea,
several tens, hundreds of millions of dollars of like private capital that gets invested, but they don't even know where to start. So we can be that front door and give them a place, and also provide them with like the skills, the tools, the resources that they need to feel comfortable to start writing 5, 10, 15, $25,000, $50,000 angel checks, which would, I think, fill a really big gap in the like early stage innovation ecosystem.
Yeah, and then who knows, those angels could become really successful angels and decide to be more like actual proper VC.
Also, it'd be great.
So
risk on. I want more risk on folks in VC.
The other part that's kind of like, I feel like is missing is, we've had several starts that were squarely trying to either within the next year or maybe 2 years out, sell into DC type customers in the defense, the defense ecosystem, the national security ecosystem. But they needed people to like bang on keyboards and like actually write code. And they're, when they first started hunting for those type of people on there, they couldn't find a large mass of like highly technical people that wanted to work in a startup. There are highly technical people here that are working, at agencies, things like that. So we're typically, I don't want to do this, but sometimes we're like, go to New York for now. Then, take the Amtrak down in a few years and set up shop here. But I want to start to say like, this is pointing them to like really technical people to bang on keyboards to build companies here instead of New York. Maybe what's happening in New York will help change some of that, but what are your thoughts on that? Like,
I hope that we had some of that talent. I mean, like talent density is everything. And like one of the words that we're focused on this year is just density. And our hope is that like we can be that front door for folks that maybe work at the NSA or other agencies or some of the large primes or even some of the large Fortune 500s that are building things here,
Yeah.
that like maybe are startup curious or like interested in building something from scratch, but don't really know where to turn. It's like, all right, well, just go to Station DC, and like you'll probably meet someone else that like shares that level of ambition, and hopefully, for your portfolio companies that are looking to hire, you can basically just be like, oh, well, like every second Wednesday of the month, there's like a engineer meetup at Station DC. Like just go there. Like you'll probably meet someone, and then networks compound.
You need to work to secure the various different like crypto meetups. Maybe you're already doing this like at Station DC.
Yeah.
I don't know if you thought about that.
I know a few. We're like,
Yeah,
through the field.
like the Bitcoin community here, which I've kind of loosely been a part of for a while. Like they've been homeless, like bouncing around. Like right now they're meeting at GW University, but it's a pretty robust community.
Yeah.
And they were out at Michael Saylor's headquarters out in Tyson's for a bit. Anyways, around that's great. I love to hear that. How does somebody that's just like somebody that's technical, like how do they just go to Station DC? They're like, well, they're not a member, but they're gonna have a meetup. Like you could just
There will be a percentage of our events that are open to the public, or like you can apply to join some of our events. I don't know the exact number. Maybe it's 80-20, like members only to open to the public.
Yeah.
But on our website and in our newsletter, we'll always be promoting events that are available. And similarly, if they're not Station DC events, but they're events that are being hosted at Station DC, whoever the host is can decide who they want to invite.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that, because otherwise it seems kind of, you want to kind of tear down that exclusivity to parts of things to start to build that community, because there's going to be a lot of independents that want to get involved, and you described that well with the to build density, you're going to have to get those independents involved.
Yeah.
All right, so we were just reminiscing here about like the standard DC conference. Like you've got a group of guys or suits on the stage talking to a room full of people with suits. You go to conferences, other places, they're typically like a lot less suits, a lot less blue blazers. Of course, there's some of that. How do you see we get to a place where real innovators, and I hate to use that word sometimes, real builders of things are involved in the conversation a lot more here in DC, where we kind of break down the mold of the typical DC conference, and you get the right people, right mix of people in the room, the right comfort level so people can feel comfortable talking. And so like the folks on the stage know more about the subject that they're talking about.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, they need it. Like someone needs to pull up a chair for the builders, the innovators. And right now it's like an afterthought, which I think is totally backwards.
Yeah.
But like so many like events in DC are just copy paste, like people on stage in suits talking in a room of suits. And it's like a lot of, and I don't mean this in any negative way, it's like a lot of people that are really good at thinking about things and like pontificating. But in reality, like, and that's a very important piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
Like, but they need to be in the room with the people who are actually building the things and like living on the cutting edge of technology. And so then there's like information transfer between those two groups, which also, and it's not actually just the builders of things and the like rule writer and the rule makers. It's also everyone else in the like problem solving supply chain. Like we need the capital providers there. We need the end users there, whether that's military or industry. Like I think we also need like academics and nonprofits, like in media, all in that room together, so we can kind of like figure out what the story is, what the problem is, and start to like align around like what the problem set is, like what the messaging is, and like win the narrative war. And right now it's just it's like it's a lot of DC events are just boring.
What kind of interaction have you had with lawmakers on the Hill so far with Station DC? Like how are they?
Super receptive.
Yeah.
First of all, I love hanging out with them. They're like very interesting people. But I mean, what we found is it's not just the lawmakers, but it's also the lawmakers and their staffers. Like they all have an agenda and like some policy areas that they care about. I mean, I was at an event this morning. They were saying like the lawmaker on stage was saying, I am here because I want to learn more about artificial intelligence. Well, we can actually be the conduit for the policymaker and their staffers to like genuinely learn about artificial intelligence through putting them in a room with 25 to 350 to 500 other
Yeah.
like individuals who all they do is spend time like building things for or with artificial intelligence. And so hopefully it improves, it like brings up their baseline level of understanding, so that they can write and shape policy in like not just a responsible but a valuable way, to maintain like DC and American competitiveness.
What do you think about this idea? Our North Star is turning DC into like the Singapore of the United States, where, from tax perspective to innovation perspective, we have to stand out. Singapore had to stand out in their part of the world. And DC has to kind of fight for its own rights to stand out within, because there's no one in Congress that are saying like, let's make DC an innovation ecosystem. We don't want these things to go back to their home districts. We don't have we don't have a vote and stuff like that. So DC is going to have to figure out a way to create that ecosystem here at home, and that's part of that is becoming like a more business friendly location to operate.
Yes. And the way that I think about it, or we think about it at least, is like we have to play to our strengths.
Yep.
Like our competitive advantage right now, and I think pretty much throughout the history of Washington, D.C., and this is D.C. culture aside, like this is just for pure business and industry,
right,
is like power, people, and influence. And like, how can we lean into that and make that more accessible to more innovators and more builders of things? And that will help us stand out. Like exploiting our competitive advantage. It's exactly what, I would counsel, our portfolio companies at Revolution to. I'm guessing it's probably somewhat similar. It's like, what's your unique insight? What's your competitive advantage? Like, what are you uniquely positioned to do that others aren't? All right, go do that and do it a lot. Just keep doing that thing. It's like, all right, well, I don't even think that, I don't want us to compete with San Francisco or New York or Boston or Austin. Like, we're fundamentally different. We have something in DC that they don't have, and and we need to take advantage of that. And so I actually think we're complementary to every single one of those cities. And if we can position ourselves as like a complement and as an ally to all of those places, the stronger that this place is.
Okay, let's take a use case here. You're starting a drone company, right? You leave in the military, you're starting a drone company. How do you interact with Station DC? You could go anywhere. Do you set up shop in the DMV and actually build your drones here? And
do. I mean, like, I would love that. And I would love that. The like District of Columbia government does have programs, like incentive programs for if you were thinking about starting a drone company and you need 5 to 15 to 50,000 square feet of space.
Yeah.
And you think you're going to hire XYZ employees over the next 1 to 5 years. Like, there's something called the Vitality Fund. There's something called the Growth Fund. Like, there actually are these programs that are set up. I think they can be marketed better. But that's also we kind of take responsibility for that at Station DC. We're like, well, it's our job to make sure that the neighbors and citizens and potential citizens or residents of Washington, D.C. know about these things. But let's build stuff in D.C. I think that'd be really cool. I think that'd be really badass.
Where would be have you guys researched kind of where that reasonably priced space could be, even outside of Station DC, say you had 2 desks at DC, Station DC?
Yeah, I don't know enough about it. I mean, I know I know of some companies actually that will be coming out of stealth soon that are building things in Navy Yard.
Okay.
Which I think that's super cool, and I can't wait to talk. Actually building things in Navy Yard, which I think is really cool. I mean, I did this walking tour through all 8 wards of DC last week. I mean, there's a lot of space. It's Ward 7, Ward 8. There is a lot of space that can and should be developed, and I actually think the residents of those wards deserve more commercial activity.
Yeah,
and I think if we start to think about how we can use some of that underutilized space responsibly and effectively, it can create jobs and economic opportunity. Economic growth,
sort of
just empty space. I mean, there's literally just land.
Yeah.
I was walking through Ward 7, and first of all, beautiful, super pretty. There's just
super hilly.
Yeah, hill. There's just, but there was just parcels of land where there's nothing on it.
Right.
And there was a full block of an old supermarket. And I was
you own a lot of the land?
I don't know. I actually don't know. But there was this like great corner location that was an old supermarket, unoccupied now. And I was thinking like, this is a great piece of real estate. I wonder what can be developed here, and also like how it can have very positive ripple effects for the economies of these wards.
I think about it. I mean, it's a long way out, but I kind of envision like when I go to Paris or whatever. Like I love to just start walking and like walk from one side of town to the other. Across the whole place, or like Istanbul. First time I went there, I took a taxi to the edge of town and I walked across the whole town.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody really does. I mean, people do that in like Ward 2 and like Ward 1 and, in the kind of core of DC. But when you start talking about the periphery, if you were to visit here, there's not a lot of there's housing and stuff out in the outer ring of it. But let's interconnect the whole thing and have like reasons to go to all these places outside of just the core.
Yeah, and it's like it like kind of makes me sad. Like there's nothing that's drawing people to like Ward 7 and 8. I mean, RFK in Ward 7 is going to be amazing. Also, like I can't wait for the riverfront to be developed because there's this wonderful piece of land that should be like literally the greatest riverfront in America. In Ward 7. I mean, it gives you a lot of perspective. I mean, first of all, it gave me a ton of perspective doing that. Also, I got around to all 8 wards in one day, metroing and walking and taking like a Lime scooter here and there for $25 or less. Super easy to do. But there needs to be like these anchors that are actually pulling people into these places in DC, and right now there aren't. And I really do believe that like residents of those geographies in DC like deserve better.
Long time coming. They totally deserve it. And I think when people go to those places like you did, and when I drive family that's in town and into a part of town they've never been before, like, wow, this is absolutely like, it's beefy, it's freaking beautiful, great vistas, all that stuff. What are some of the biggest challenges you guys have faced so far? What do you see like the biggest hurdles? And who can help you kind of get over those things so we can like be aggressive about all the things we're talking about here today?
Like belief, I think is the biggest hurdle. Like I fundamentally believe that we have all the ingredients for success here. And it's not just that, but we have all the ingredients for success and this asset that no one else in the entire world has. Like the biggest customer, the most powerful organization in the entire world. And I truly think that like belief and like optimism and a vision of what like DC can become is like the biggest hurdle. And how do we do that? I think it's through better storytelling. I'm super grateful that you all have a podcast and you're doing this and where your nat's at when you're doing it. Like that's actually important. And I think storytelling, highlighting like successes, always, focusing on the founder and putting founders and entrepreneurs at the center of everything that we're doing. And just demonstrating that like greatness is here and greatness can continue to be built here. And it's not just greatness. It's like investors need to know that like a lot of enterprise value can be created here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so, and like that's the biggest hurdle. And I think once we can get better at that storytelling and have this like unified kind of messaging, or everyone kind of has these few talking points, it doesn't just wake the rest of the country and the world up. It will start to like wake up those individuals that actually might be working at a government agency and like have this ambition kind of like festering inside them. They're like, oh wait, like this, whatever, Kieran from Arcadia used to be a Hill staffer and then started an energy data company, and now that's worth, $1 billion+ Like I can do that too.
Yeah. What? How much of the DNA of Capital Factory in Austin, well-known thing, I think that could give some people some belief, right? Because Capital Factory was an important part of the Austin ecosystem for a long time. Like, how much of that DNA is coming over to what you guys are doing? And do you guys talk about that a lot?
We want to copy and paste the best from it.
Yeah.
Like, thankfully, they have 15 years of experience of building an innovation economy or ecosystem, and the Capital Factory. We're structurally different. We're a nonprofit. But they've invested hundreds of millions of dollars into startups, created tens of thousands of jobs, billions of dollars of enterprise value. And I think more optimism down in Austin, and we're in the fortunate position where we can look at the 15 years of things that they've done and learned, and we can be like, all right, well, what are like the 3 things that work best? Let's just go do those things and get rid of
Right.
and not do the things that aren't working. And so our hope is that we can start to replicate some of the success that they've had down in Austin here in DC.
Yeah. What is the what are some of the how do you measure that? What do you guys going to use to measure that success here?
I mean, I'll answer that in two ways. Our North Star internally is a world-class, remarkably valuable experience for our members. Like, that's the focus. And our members are startups, technologists, investors, policymakers, military industry. That's the internal metric. I mean, I think like in terms of how we would measure success externally, it's like partnership, like revenue. It's honestly growth. It's like revenue generated, partnerships that are forged, jobs that are created, dollars that are raised by station DC members. Those are probably like the four. And then there's even like more on the periphery, which is like, how many folks are we bringing to DC on like an annual basis? Like, are we filling hotel rooms? Like what is the like actual economic activity and impact of station DC? So that's much harder to.
What's the foreign interest been from allied countries to kind of like use Station DC as an entry point for their technology?
Yeah, we have partnerships with like embassies.
So like Western Australia.
Yeah, the Investment and Trade Authority of Western Australia. I think they have the deep sea ports and critical minerals, and they're starting to. I think it's like AUKUS Pillar 2. They have like a lot of they're like building subs there or something.
Yeah.
So kind of like the allies that are on the front lines right now.
Yeah.
Like there's interest and there's demand, and hopefully we can be a conduit for like almost this like new like bilateral trade lane where the best foreign innovation and technology and investment is coming to America and actually to DC through us or like as a result of Station DC, because we can move faster than those like government authorities and like large corporates. And similarly, we can help like export the like best American technology and innovation to like our allied partners across the world, which the second order effect of that is like revenue and growth and jobs for companies that are based in DC and in America.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes the most efficient organizations like that are the ones that operate just outside of government, that have like the right kind of ties into government.
Yeah. Like aligned with like the, like the interests of the government, but don't have the bureaucracy, like levels of review and layers.
I mean, just look at like InQtel as an investment entity. I mean, they made tons of money for the U.S. government operating inside of government, but just outside of government, investing in early stage companies and not having to follow the same rules as, their colleagues in actually directly inside of government. And it's been, that's a real, I feel like an under discussed success story in U.S. government around innovation. And it's partly because it like came out of the CIA and still kind of a little bit spooky.
Yeah.
But it's not. I mean, they do all kinds of stuff outside of that now. And it's not just defense tech. They do all kinds of
I mean, Office of Strategic Capital is like a incredibly valuable program that more people should be aware of. I mean, my numbers are going to be wrong here, but it was like $200 million a year or so. Now it's like $200 billion.
I just was learning about that the other day. As how do we tap into that? My boss actually came to me and said, like, look at the number on this thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, shoot. And, but it looks like, to me, correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like that's tied towards areas that have been underserved by venture capital so far.
Yes, and I mean, they've defined, I think it's 14 critical technology areas.
Oh, okay. I should have that.
Space. I mean, if you go to the website, it's like space, hypersonics, quantum, etc. I mean, like, to me, it's kind of like, it reads as like R&D heavy industries that we need to win, like America needs to win in.
Right.
And so it's, $200 billion of capital annually that can be invested, or can be matched by the Office of Strategic Capital, like to private investors that are investing in these industries.
So like how much of a presence we're primarily focused on the cyber industry. Like what's the interest with companies related to cybersecurity to kind of what you guys are doing with Station DC so far?
I think it's like 10% of our members or so. But I mean, our members it's actually like, it is a very diversified, membership base in terms of sectors, and there's pretty much all of our members have some like national security purpose to it. And so that means like cyber, like defense technologies, but also biotech, energy, space, healthcare, education, transportation, financial services, like housing. Like these are all actually national security issues and problems. But to answer your question directly, I think it's about 10% of our members.
Okay. So what are some of the emerging tech sectors that you're most excited about putting on getting Station DC on the radar? Like there's got to be one or two that are probably like the hottest out there, other than AI. Other than AI, is there something out there that you would say, or you could say AI, but like tie it to an actual like application? What's gonna be the tech sector that puts Station DC on the map? Putting you on the spot here.
I'm actually gonna like get a little bit contrarian because there's a bunch of different ways that I could answer this.
Okay.
I think it's gonna be a healthcare company.
Oh, really? All right. Yeah. Okay.
And just because I think per our conversation,
most fucked up.
Yeah, per our conversation earlier, like like there is total institutional decay.
Yeah.
And trust has been shattered. And I think if there's any time to rebuild like an institution right now in something like healthcare, education, or rebuild an institution in something like healthcare, education, it's right now. And so I would bet that it's probably not going to be like a defense or cyber or, advanced manufacturing robotics company, although that'd be amazing. And they're here to support that as well. Like, I think it's going to be what people are not expecting, which is like a consumer healthcare guy or something like that. Or even like,
it's always that way.
I could get like quirkier if you're like, it'll be like biotech manufacturing because 80% of like our essential drug ingredients come from like China and India. And that's a like huge choke point. And so do we start bringing that back to America? Like, yes, hopefully there's like pretty solid biotech talent, like up and down, the Northeast corridor. Like maybe it's a company that starts to like do something like that. I mean, I'm not sure, but that's.
Wait, who was it? What was it last year when the Western North Carolina was ravaged by a hurricane? There was something there was a sailing solution that was procured from mostly Western North Carolina. Mm-hmm. So if you went into, my wife was having a baby around the time, there were some other things. There was like, you couldn't get it. Yeah. If you needed an IV drip, you couldn't get it unless you were like in a super serious situation. Yeah. So things like that, like something like that.
It's a huge problem. And drugs are going to start to get more expensive if we don't do anything about it, because a lot of, again, like the ingredients are coming from adversaries and or countries where there's, where we're slapping tariffs on them. So yeah. I would like for us to start like rebuilding the critical supply chain of like biotech and life sciences.
Do you guys have any connections to other places that are a part of this total movement of sort of re-engineering America for the future of defense? Other cities, like cities that are going to do things that DC will never do. Like DC will never build tanks like Detroit built.
Yeah, right.
Do you have any connections to hubs in other cities like that?
Yes, and I think it's part through Capital Factory and part through me going to 40 states in 40 years when I was working at Revolution, and like spending time in Detroit and Chattanooga and Northwest Arkansas and Phoenix and Denver and like Southern California. Like, I mean, I was literally all over the place, and like I have those personal relationships. So hopefully we can figure out ways to formalize that.
One thing I want to, like, this is just jumping back a bit, but like you're a startup, right? And you don't necessarily need to lobby in DC. You don't want to spend the money but you want to find actual pathways to actual buyers in the government. You think with a high degree of probability, you build something that the government wants to buy. Mm-hmm. You don't want to just come to a happy hour and stand around and like wait for somebody to come to you. What like actual pathways will somebody be able to get connected to by coming to Station DC to say like, hey, look, this is the process you need to do to like sell into the Navy or sell into the Army or whatever.
So, back to my point around education, like we have something called the Defense Academy, which is like, you're an emerging defense tech company. You need to prepare to sell into the Department of War.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Like, how do you do that? Like, you need to make sure that these 10 things are like accomplished.
Yep.
Take a one-day crash course with us, and we'll make sure that you know what those like tactical strategies are.
Yeah.
So like that's one way. It's like the education. We're also like creating a course that will launch very soon with a Midas list investor on how to build authentic relationships. Like, we're trying to think about this like complex system. Like, it's not just make sure all the boxes are checked, but like, how can you actually go about building the relationships and like navigating your network in the way that you need to get to the, not just the, requirements writer or the contracting officer or the program manager, like, or the end user, but it's like all of those at the exact same time. So part of it is education. And then part of it is just fundamentally the fact that like we are bringing all of those, whatever, 4 categories of people and the startups and the investors into a room together. Hopefully we can start to like distribute influence in a way where like you can build an organic relationship with a staffer just like over drinks at a cocktail hour, or maybe it's at a salon, so like a round table breakfast, you're positioned next to a staffer or a government buyer, and you can build that relationship. And like, kind of the same way that, I thought about investing when I was at Revolution. It's like, the best founders, like our job is to be helpful where we can, but just stay out of the way. And like, if they're like truly exceptional founders, like they're going to figure it out.
So somebody watching this, what is one way they're excited, they want to help out here, they might be a member of state, they may not be a member of State Street. What's something they can do that would be useful to you to spread the word about Station DC? Like, what are some things that people could do to be useful in this movement?
Go like find a founder and reach out to that founder and ask what's one thing you can do to be helpful to them.
Okay.
And then go do that thing.
What let's move into the lighting round here a bit. What is one thing that you would think the rest of America needs to know about DC that would be advantageous to a startup thinking about having some sort of presence here that they may not be aware of?
We have the highest amount of Michelin stars per capita.
Oh, okay.
Of anywhere in the United States, I think.
All right. All right. We weren't even on the Michelin guide that year, I guess. Everyone had to pop up quick.
So that, I mean, good schools, there's open, like there's space, there's grass and trees everywhere. Like reasonably affordable housing. And I don't know. I kind of forgot the question. Like, there's rich culture here. Like, so the weird thing about DC is like our story is so anchored in like the National Mall and the government being here. But then you actually spend time here, and it's like 5 professional sports teams, which, by the way, are pretty much all improving.
Yeah.
I mean, the Commanders are. I will declare it a Super Bowl contender. And
This year.
Yeah. Okay. Hell yeah, this year.
I'm with it.
And world-class music venues. Very walkable city. We have international airports, multiple international airports within whatever, an hour and a half drive, beaches 2 hours away, very easy to get up and down the Northeast corridor. Like, it's just a very livable city, which is important to individuals that are determining where they want to live. And then you start to layer in the fact that, like, yes, and we have the federal government that writes the rules, has all the power in the world, is the biggest customer in the world. And we have talent, and we have capital, and we have customers. Kind of a good place to be.
What's one piece of advice you would give yourself, an 18-year-old James that that they might have like the equivalent out there in America somewhere right now? Like, what's one piece of advice?
Can I give 2?
Yeah, 2.
Or like 1 with a semicolon?
Sure.
The first is spend as much time as you possibly can with the people who like unconditionally love and support you. And like thank them and, be super like appreciative and grateful for that. The second is, and that's more personal. Professionally, you can do things. Like, you can do it. Just do it. Just start. There's no perfect idea. Start doing it, and don't say I am thinking about, say I am doing. Like, I am, fill in the blank of whatever it is you want to accomplish, and you can do a lot more than you think.
Yeah, part of it's just like speaking it to reality.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
And that's a real DC thing, is imposter syndrome. I think it's everywhere, but I think there's a lot of people at DC that have imposter syndrome. But I think like no place else in the world, there's a lot of people that are doing things inside of government that that are inherently government missions that they do nowhere else, that you could do nowhere else in the world, that makes DC super unique.
Yeah.
And those things transfer to building companies. And for example, offensive cybersecurity, illegal to do for the most part in the private sector. There's no concentration of that more in the world than except for maybe like in China or Russia.
Yeah.
They're right here in the DC metro area. Let's get those people into the private sector building, the equivalent of that. And then there's just things that are inherently governmental that makes DC super unique, back to like what makes the city different, that we need them to come over to the private sector, and we need them, and they're going to learn a lot if they do. And oh, by the way, go back into government later if you have to, and be even better at your government.
Yeah.
Because you've done it in the private sector. So it's a great safety net. It's a great, it's a unique advantage that I think the city has.
That's all right. What's the 8,900 unit in the IDF?
Yep.
Like we have the equivalent here at Fort Meade,
Yeah.
or 8,200 unit. We have the equivalent here at Fort Meade and like in the NSA.
Absolutely. That exists here. The difference is in Israel, it's much smaller geography. So you have like the investors like hanging out right side of the gates of the 8,200 unit. Right?
Yeah.
You have an ecosystem where people go into the military and out of the military as a cohort at the same time. And so they almost come up with business plans while they're in the military.
And also surrounded by existential threats like
Surrounded
time and like,
So they have all their
scarcity creates innovation.
But we could create a microcosm of that here in DC. And the missing ingredient right now is a lot of it is access to capital. So, but you have the same kind of talent. You have the same kind of people focused on the same kind of missions. So like, that's just one little small piece of this whole thing that I'm excited about personally for the business that I'm in. James, thanks for joining us on the Innovators for Chaos podcast, episode 008. Look forward to coming to Station DC's opening and being a part of the ecosystem once you get rolling here in a few weeks.
Let's go. All right. We're grateful to have you. Thank you.
Thanks.